Hello, Army! Welcome back to Taekook Update Channel. Something unexpected just happened, and fans can't stop replaying it. In the middle of a massive live concert with thousands in the stadium and millions watching, Taehyung suddenly made a move toward Jungkook that no one saw coming. It wasn't part of the choreography. It wasn't planned. And yet, he did it anyway, right in front of everyone. For a split second, time almost felt frozen. Cameras caught everything in perfect clarity, and Jungkook's reaction was completely unfiltered. A soft, almost shy response that instantly sent the entire crowd into chaos. Screams grew louder than the music itself, and the energy in the stadium shifted in a way you could feel even through the screen. But here's the part that has fans losing their minds. Taehyung didn't stop. Even knowing he was being filmed, even with the spotlight directly on them, he kept going like nothing else mattered. Now, everyone is asking the same question. Was this just a spontaneous moment, or something more they couldn't hide anymore? The moment didn't fade the way most concert clips do. It lingered, stretched, and somehow grew bigger with every passing second. What started as a brief interaction quickly became the center of attention, pulling every camera, every pair of eyes, and every heartbeat in the stadium toward them. As the performance continued, the atmosphere felt different. The choreography kept moving, the music kept playing, but something had shifted. Taehyung carried on with an unusual calm, almost as if nothing extraordinary had just happened. Yet there was a subtle intensity in the way he stayed close. Meanwhile, Jungkook's energy seemed to flicker between focus and something softer, something harder to hide. It was the kind of contrast that fans notice instantly, the kind that makes a simple second feel loaded with meaning. Clips of the moment began spreading almost immediately, replayed from different angles, slowed down, zoomed in, and analyzed frame by frame. The lighting, the timing, the exact placement of his hand, and the way Jungkook reacted became the center of countless discussions. Some focused on how natural it looked. Others pointed out how bold it was to happen so openly, especially under the intense spotlight of a live show. The fact that it happened during such a high-energy set only made it feel even more surreal. What made it impossible to ignore was not just the gesture itself, but everything surrounding it. The crowd's reaction didn't die down quickly. Even as the next song began, there was a lingering wave of excitement, a kind of collective disbelief that something so small could create such a massive impact. The cheers didn't just come from the performance anymore. They followed every movement the two made afterward, as if fans were watching more closely than ever, waiting for another hint, another sign. And there were moments, subtle ones, that only made things more intense. A glance held a second longer than usual, a distance that didn't feel quite as distant. Tiny details that would normally go unnoticed suddenly carried weight, amplified by what had already happened. It became less about a single action and more about a pattern that people felt they were witnessing in real time. Outside the stadium, the reaction exploded even faster. The clip spread across timelines, feeds, and trending pages, pulling in viewers who hadn't even been watching the concert. Edits began appearing within minutes, some highlighting the softness of the moment, others emphasizing how unexpected and bold it felt. The contrast between the loud, electrifying concert and that quiet, almost intimate gesture became the reason people couldn't stop watching. The question that kept resurfacing wasn't just about what happened, but why it happened that way, in that moment, without hesitation. There was no attempt to hide it, no visible second thought. If anything, the confidence behind it made it feel even more deliberate, more real. And that's what turned a few seconds into something unforgettable. As the night went on, the performance reached its final stages, but the energy never fully returned to what it had been before. It stayed heightened, charged with something unspoken. Every final bow, every closing movement carried the echo of that earlier moment, as if it had quietly reshaped the entire show. By the time the lights dimmed and the crowd began to settle, one thing was clear. Out of an entire night filled with music, visuals, and powerful performances, it was that single unexpected interaction people would remember the most. Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it felt genuine in a way that couldn't be staged. Even now, as the clip continues to circulate and gain more attention with every hour, The curiosity hasn't faded. If anything, it's only growing stronger. The more people watch it, the more they begin to notice things they didn't see the first time. What happened after that moment is what truly keeps people watching. When the stage lights shifted and the next sequence began, something subtle but undeniable carried over. The dynamic between them didn't reset. If anything, it became more noticeable in the smallest details. The spacing, the timing, the way their movements seemed slightly more aware of each other than before. Cameras, once scattered across the stage, began returning to them more frequently. Not in an obvious way, but enough to suggest that even the production team understood where the attention had shifted. Every time the lens found them again, fans held their breath, anticipating something, anything, that might happen next. And then came the quiet moments that somehow felt louder than everything else. A passing glance that lingered half a second too long. A shift in position that brought them closer, without choreography to justify it. It was never direct, never overdone, but it didn't need to be. The tension came from what wasn't explained. Jungkook, who had already reacted once in a way that caught everyone off guard, seemed more careful afterward, yet at the same time more transparent. There was a softness in his expressions that cameras couldn't ignore, and every time it appeared, the crowd responded instantly, as if they were all seeing the same thing at the same time. Taehyung, on the other hand, carried a different kind of energy, calm, controlled, but with flashes of something that felt intentional. It wasn't about repeating the same gesture again. It was about not pulling away from the attention it had created. That quiet confidence is what made everything feel even more deliberate. As clips continued to circulate online, new angles began revealing even more. Moments that weren't clear in the first viral cut suddenly came into focus. Tiny reactions before and after the main interaction surfaced, making the entire sequence feel less like an isolated incident and more like part of something bigger. Fans began connecting details across the performance, building a timeline out of seconds most people would normally overlook. And the more they connected, the more questions appeared, not loud questions, not confirmed conclusions, but the kind that keeps people replaying the same video over and over. Even hours after the concert ended, the energy didn't fade. If anything, it intensified. The clip continued to spread, pulling in more viewers, more reactions, more interpretations. Each replay felt like it revealed something slightly different, keeping the mystery alive. And just when it seemed like everything had already been seen, something even more intriguing surfaced. New clips began circulating. Angles no one had noticed before. Raw, unfiltered moments captured by fans from different parts of the stadium added an entirely new layer. What started inside a stadium had now expanded far beyond it. The clip became more than just a highlight. It turned into a question people kept returning to again and again. And then came the detail that made everything harder to ignore. In one of the newer angles, just seconds after the initial interaction, there was a brief shift, so quick it could easily be missed. A look, almost instinctive, followed by a micro-expression that didn't quite match the high-energy environment around them. It lasted less than a second, but once noticed, it became impossible to forget. That single detail changed how people watched the entire moment. Because now it wasn't just about what happened in front of everyone, it was about what almost slipped through unnoticed. No matter how many times it's analyzed, slowed down, or discussed, there's still no clear answer. Only that same lingering question: was it really just a spontaneous second in the middle of a performance? Or was it a rare glimpse into something far more real than anyone expected to see? And just when the moment felt like it had reached its peak, the story took another turn, one no one saw coming. Because after the concert ended, when the lights went down and the stage cleared, most people expected the buzz to fade. But it didn't. Instead, it evolved. Fans began noticing something unusual in the hours that followed. Not from the stage this time, but from everything around it. Small updates, subtle changes, quiet activity that on its own meant nothing, but together started forming a pattern people couldn't ignore. The timing felt too precise. Moments after the clip hit peak attention, related content began surfacing in ways that felt almost synchronized. Old interactions resurfaced. Past performances were rewatched through a completely different lens. And then came the reactions. Not direct, not obvious, but present enough to be noticed. A shift in online behavior. A post that felt slightly out of place. An offstage expression that didn't quite match the earlier, high-energy image. None of it confirmed anything, yet none of it felt random either. And now, long after the music has stopped and the stage has gone quiet, that single interaction still echoes louder than anything else from that night. Not because it was the most dramatic, but because it felt unfinished, like a piece of something still unfolding. And maybe that's why people can't let it go. Because deep down, it doesn't feel like the end. It feels like the beginning.